The shock before the awakening. Most people believe that wealth begins with money, but that's a lie the world has been selling for centuries. True wealth doesn't start in your wallet. It starts in your mind. Napoleon Hill discovered that every millionaire, every empire builder, every person who rose from nothing, first built an invisible fortune, a fortune made of thoughts, beliefs, and inner discipline. You see, poverty is not a lack of money. Poverty is a lack of mental strategy. Because when your mind becomes rich, the world must eventually reflect it. Today, we're not talking about financial tips or lucky breaks. We're talking about the architecture of prosperity, the blueprint of how successful people think, decide, and act. If you've ever felt stuck, lost, or afraid that success isn't meant for you, this message will change everything, because the millionaire's mind is not born. It's built, and today, you'll start building yours. Chapter 1, The Hidden Architecture of Wealth. Wealth is a mental blueprint, not a bank balance. Before any skyscraper touches the sky, before a single brick is laid, an architect must first imagine the structure. He must see it in his mind with precision, every floor, every detail, every curve, long before it exists in the world. Wealth follows the same law. Before it appears in your bank account, it must first be designed in the workshop of your mind. Napoleon Hill spent over 20 years interviewing the world's most powerful men, Carnegie, Edison, Ford, and found that every one of them began with an invisible plan. Their wealth was not luck, inheritance, or chance. It was mental architecture, blueprints drawn in thought, held in belief, and built through disciplined action. Most people, however, never draw their own designs. They live inside blueprints that others created. The fears of their parents, the limits of society, the stories of failure whispered by the masses. They construct small lives because their minds were never trained to think large. But when you take control of the design, everything changes. The mind, Hill said, is the only thing over which you have complete control. Within that control lies your greatest power. To imagine wealth, to see it vividly, and to direct your subconscious toward its creation. Money, therefore, is not the goal, it's the reflection. It's the shadow of the mental empire you build inside. If you change your internal design, your external world must eventually follow. This is not fantasy. It's psychology, it's physics, it's the law of vibration itself. A poor mind, no matter how hard it works, will always reproduce poverty. But a wealthy mind, one filled with purpose, vision, and faith, cannot help but create prosperity. The blueprint comes first, always. The 3 foundations of mental wealth. Once you accept that wealth begins within, the next step is understanding how it's built. Napoleon Hill revealed that every enduring fortune rests on 3 invisible foundations: belief, clarity, and discipline. Belief is the first foundation. It's the mental energy that transforms imagination into creation. Without belief, even the best ideas die unborn. Hill wrote, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. The universe is neutral. It responds to conviction. A weak belief produces weak results. A powerful belief bends reality itself. The millionaire's mind refuses to doubt, not because it ignores obstacles, but because it understands that belief precedes evidence. You don't wait to see proof. Your faith is the proof. Clarity is the second foundation. It gives direction to belief. Without clarity, belief is scattered energy, strong but unfocused. Hill called clarity the definite major purpose. It's the written statement of exactly what you want and why you want it. The rich do not wander through life reacting to circumstances. They architect outcomes. They can describe their vision in precise detail, the number, the date, the feeling. Clarity is the lens that focuses desire into destiny. Discipline is the third and hardest foundation. It's the muscle that lifts vision from thought into action. Discipline means showing up when motivation fades, working when no one claps, and staying aligned with purpose when comfort tempts you to quit. Discipline transforms chaos into progress. Every habit, every routine, every moment of delayed gratification becomes a brick in the mansion of success. Together, belief, clarity, and discipline form the unseen skeleton of all prosperity. When they are weak, wealth collapses. When they are strong, wealth becomes inevitable. The truth, then, is not that money creates freedom, it's that mental mastery creates money. You do not chase wealth. You build it from the inside out, one disciplined thought at a time. Chapter 2. The Psychology of Prosperity. The rich think in terms of cause. The poor think in terms of effect. Prosperity is not a coincidence. It is a consequence. Napoleon Hill discovered that the real difference between those who attract wealth and those who repel it lies in how they think about cause and effect. The poor mind lives in reaction, always responding to what happens. The rich mind lives in creation, always causing what happens. Most people spend their days analyzing effects: the paycheck, the bills, the economy, the boss, the price of gas. They believe these things determine their destiny. But the prosperous individual knows these are merely results, reflections of invisible causes rooted in thought, emotion, and action. Every thought you think is a seed. Every belief is a frequency that attracts experiences matching its vibration. When your inner world is filled with fear, scarcity, and comparison, your outer world must mirror those states. When your inner world radiates gratitude, vision, and faith, you create abundance without effort, because your vibration naturally aligns with opportunity. Hill taught that thoughts are things, but not in the poetic sense, in the scientific one. The mind is energy, and energy organizes matter. Every person walking the earth is a transmitter and receiver of vibrations, shaping their world, moment by moment. To think in terms of cause means you stop blaming and start building. You become responsible for everything that appears in your life, not out of guilt, but out of power. The moment you accept total responsibility, you become the cause, and life becomes your effect. You don't wait for the world to change. You change yourself, and the world follows. That is the psychology of prosperity, emotional prosperity, the inner currency of the wealthy mind. Money is only one form of wealth, and often the last to appear. The true rich measure prosperity by emotion, by peace, confidence, and freedom. Napoleon Hill understood that your emotional state is your internal currency. If your emotions are poor, your finances will eventually follow. The average person spends their days bankrupting themselves emotionally, worrying about what others think, envying the success of others, and fearing failure. These emotions drain the creative mind, which Hill called infinite intelligence in motion. When your emotions vibrate at low frequency, your ability to attract ideas, allies, and opportunities collapses. The wealthy, however, guard their emotions as fiercely as their investments. They know that calmness is capital and joy is leverage. They transmute anger into drive, fear into focus, and doubt into determination. They practice what Hill described as emotional control, not suppression but redirection. When you master emotional prosperity, you stop reacting to circumstances and start directing them. You become immune to panic. You no longer chase money. Money begins to chase you, drawn by the magnetic field of certainty that surrounds your mind. To cultivate this emotional wealth, begin your day not by checking numbers, but by checking vibration. Ask yourself, what am I radiating today? Fear or faith? Doubt or purpose? Every morning becomes an investment, every thought a deposit, every action an interest payment on your future fortune. True prosperity begins when you are rich in thought and emotion long before the money arrives. Because once the mind is wealthy, reality has no choice but to catch up. Chapter 3. The Law of Mental Magnetism. The mind is a magnet. You attract what you are. Napoleon Hill declared that whatever you hold in your mind, you will attract into your life. This was not just motivation, it was metaphysics wrapped in psychology. The human mind operates as a magnet, drawing to itself the people, circumstances, and opportunities that match its dominant frequency. Every thought you think carries a vibration, a pulse of energy that signals to the universe who you are and what you expect. When your mind is filled with fear, you attract reasons to fear. When your mind is saturated with faith, you attract conditions that reward your courage. The law is exact, unemotional, and unbreakable. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. The poor mind says, "I'll believe when I see." The rich mind says, "I'll see it because I already believe." One vibrates in doubt, the other in certainty. Hill's greatest insight was that belief is not passive hope, it's mental creation. To truly believe in something means to already possess it in consciousness. The mind that feels abundance attracts abundance. The mind that feels lack attracts more lack. You cannot hold a picture of failure in your imagination and simultaneously experience success in reality. The external world is your mirror, reflecting your most persistent thoughts. To change what you see, you must first change what you send. Mental magnetism begins with awareness. Observe your inner dialogue. Are you broadcasting scarcity or sufficiency? Fear or faith? Complaint or gratitude? The answer determines what you pull toward you each day. The moment you assume responsibility for your vibration, you reclaim authorship of your destiny. Thought is the signal. Belief is the current. Emotion is the charge. Together, they shape the magnetic field of your life, the science of emotional frequency, turning thought into power. If thoughts are the blueprints of wealth, emotions are the electricity that brings them to life. Hill understood that emotion gives thought its magnetism. A thought without feeling is like a signal without power. It fades before reaching its target. The most successful individuals combine intense emotional energy with mental clarity. They think with passion and purpose, turning ideas into living forces. Fear and doubt emit low frequencies that repel opportunity. Faith, enthusiasm, and gratitude radiate high frequencies that attract it. You can test this law instantly. Walk into a room filled with negative people and notice how your energy drops. Then walk into a room of visionaries and feel how your spirit rises. Energy is contagious. It either constrains or expands you. Hill often repeated, "There is a fine line between failure and success. That line is attitude. Your attitude is simply your habitual frequency, the vibration you carry into every action." Prosperity gravitates toward those who broadcast confidence, optimism, and persistence. To master the law of mental magnetism, you must feel the reality of your desire before it exists. Visualize vividly. Engage your senses. Breathe in the emotion of achievement as if it were already done. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between imagination and experience. It simply accepts what you repeatedly feel as truth and reorganizes your behavior to match it. This is not magic, it's mental science. The brain's reticular activating system filters the world through your emotional focus, highlighting everything that aligns with your dominant feeling. When you live in gratitude, you notice opportunity. When you live in fear, you notice lack. The richest people on earth are not those who work the hardest. They are those who vibrate at the highest frequency of purpose. Gratitude and certainty control your vibration, and you control your world. That is the law of mental magnetism. Chapter 4, the discipline of wealth creation. Discipline, the bridge between vision and reality. Napoleon Hill wrote that discipline is the price you pay for greatness. Every dream, no matter how grand, collapses without structure. Vision without discipline is illusion. The discipline of wealth is not about rigid control. It's about conscious alignment between thought, emotion, and action. Most people start their journey with enthusiasm, but lose energy when results take time. The millionaire's mind, however, understands that consistency is the invisible currency of success. Hill compared discipline to muscle. It strengthens only through resistance. Each time you act with purpose, despite discomfort, you expand your capacity for achievement. Discipline is not punishment. It's preparation. It turns potential into progress. It means choosing to do what must be done, even when the mood says otherwise. The undisciplined person waits for inspiration. The disciplined person acts until inspiration appears. Hill observed that all successful people live by self-imposed habits, rituals that reinforce focus and direction. They wake with purpose, study with intensity, speak with conviction, and guard their time like treasure. They understand that wasted hours compound into wasted years. When you master discipline, you no longer need motivation. Your habits become self-propelling. The repetition of constructive action engraves success into your subconscious. What once required effort becomes automatic. This is why the disciplined individual eventually surpasses the talented one. Talent is potential, discipline is power. And while most chase excitement, the wise pursue excellence. The bridge from vision to reality is built one disciplined day at a time. Each action, each choice, each hour of focus becomes a brick laid toward your financial freedom. Wealth does not appear suddenly. It accumulates quietly in the moments when no one is watching. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom. It is its foundation. The power of routine, turning effort into flow. If discipline is the muscle, routine is the rhythm that strengthens it. Hill noted that the mind functions best when it operates within a framework of positive repetition. Routine transforms chaos into order and confusion into clarity. It is how vision becomes velocity. Most people misunderstand routine as monotony, but in truth, it is mastery in motion. Every great inventor, leader, or entrepreneur followed a system. Henry Ford used repetition to perfect production. Thomas Edison used repetition to refine invention. And Napoleon Hill used repetition to ingrain prosperity principles into his subconscious. Routine rewires your mind through the power of habit. Neuroscience now confirms what Hill intuitively taught a century ago. Repeated actions create neural pathways that automate success. When you commit to a daily rhythm, rising early, visualizing goals, learning something new, managing time with precision, you signal to your brain that achievement is your normal state. A chaotic schedule leads to a chaotic life. A consistent routine becomes a silent mentor, guiding you toward mastery without the noise of emotion. Through repetition, excellence becomes effortless. The wealthy do not rely on willpower. They rely on systems. They automate discipline so that progress becomes inevitable. The poor use their feelings as instructions. The rich use their routines as anchors. Hill believed that success requires no explanations. Failure permits no alibis. Routine eliminates excuses. Each day lived with purpose compounds into confidence, and confidence magnetizes opportunity. When your daily structure reflects your higher vision, every sunrise becomes an investment in your destiny. Wealth in the end is not built in the moments of inspiration, but in the discipline of repetition. Discipline transforms chaos into power. Routine sustains it. Together, they create the heartbeat of lasting prosperity. Chapter 5, The Spirit of True Wealth. Wealth as a state of consciousness. Napoleon Hill taught that money is only one fragment of the great mosaic called success. True wealth is a spiritual vibration, an expanded state of consciousness where thought, purpose, and gratitude exist in perfect harmony. The tragedy of most lives is not poverty of resources, but poverty of awareness. People chase possessions without ever realizing that the richest treasures are already within. To the untrained mind, wealth is measured in numbers. To the enlightened mind, wealth is measured in freedom. Freedom of thought, of time, of purpose. The millionaire mindset is not about accumulation. It is about expansion. Every time you grow in wisdom, faith, or love, you increase your real value to the world. Hill observed that the happiest and wealthiest people he interviewed had one thing in common. They served a purpose greater than themselves. They saw money not as an end, but as a tool, a servant of vision. They directed wealth toward creation, not possession. The poor often ask, "How can I get?" The rich mind asks, "How can I give?" Because giving multiplies energy. When you give from abundance, you tell the universe, "I have more than enough," and the universe answers accordingly. This is not philosophy, it's psychology. The mind expands in proportion to what it expresses. The miserly thinker shrinks inward, hoarding both coins and creativity. The generous thinker expands, inviting opportunity through flow. You cannot receive with clenched fists. You must open your hands. In the same way, you cannot attract wealth with a closed heart. The spirit of true wealth begins when you see yourself not as a collector of riches, but as a channel for them, a conduit through which abundance flows to others. Gratitude, faith, and the infinite connection. If wealth begins in thought and matures through discipline, it is sustained by gratitude and faith, the twin energies that connect you to infinite intelligence. Gratitude transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. When you appreciate what you already have, you magnify it. Hill wrote that no one can become rich without first becoming grateful. Gratitude tunes your mind to the frequency of abundance, allowing you to see opportunities that scarcity hides. Faith, meanwhile, is the fuel that keeps your vision alive during drought. Every creator faces moments when nothing seems to work. When ideas fail, funds run dry, and hope fades. In those moments, faith acts as the unseen bridge between effort and evidence. Hill called faith the eternal elixir because it transmutes fear into power. It makes you resilient when logic says you should quit. Together, gratitude and faith form a spiritual magnetism that no economy can touch. They connect your limited self to the unlimited source of supply, what Hill called infinite intelligence. When you align with that source, ideas arrive when needed, people appear at the right time, and progress accelerates as if guided by an unseen hand. The spirit of true wealth, therefore, is a partnership between the material and the mystical. It's knowing that while you work in the visible world, forces in the invisible are working for you. You are never alone in your creation. When your life becomes a harmony of purpose, gratitude, and faith, you transcend survival and step into significance. Wealth is no longer something you earn. It becomes something you embody, and when you reach that level of consciousness, you understand the ultimate truth. Napoleon Hill devoted his life to teaching. You have everything you need to become everything you desire. Closing and practical lesson. Wealth is not a number. It is a vibration. It begins as a whisper in the mind, becomes a rhythm in the heart, and finally manifests as a symphony in the world. Napoleon Hill devoted his life to revealing this truth, that every fortune starts within. Before gold there was grit. Before empires there were ideas. And before abundance there was belief. You are not chasing money. You are cultivating the mental and emotional conditions that make wealth inevitable. So, here is your challenge. Tonight, take a blank page and write your definite major purpose, the clear, passionate statement of what you truly want and why it matters. Read it aloud every morning and every night with emotion, faith, and gratitude. Then act, no matter how small the step. Because the mind that moves becomes unstoppable. Do not wait for the world to change before you do. Change the way you think, and the world must follow. You already possess the tools that built every fortune: desire, imagination, and discipline. Now it's time to use them. Remember, wealth is not something you find, it's something you become.